Good morning and half a day. The Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, and Housing is now called to order. For the record, today is Thursday, July 29, 2021, and the time now is 9:01. Notice for this public hearing was disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets. First public notice and change 1 was issued on Thursday, July 22nd, change 2 on July 23rd, and second notice was issued on Monday, July 26th. The committee will hear and accept testimonies on Bill 152-36, introduced by Senator Telo Taitague, co-sponsored by Senator Sabina Perez and Senator Joanne Brown. An act to close an inactive government of Guam special funds accounts and to repeal enabling legislation of such inactive government of Guam special funds account as recommended by the Office of Public Accountability, OPA, pursuant to OPA report number 1902. I'd like to acknowledge the senators that are present today. We have the author of the bill, Senator Telo Taitague. We have my vice chair, Senator Amanda Shelton. We have Senator Minority Leader Chris Drainus, and we have Senator Jim Moylan present. General rules for this public hearing. Those testifying on Bill 152-36 CUR invited to the panel, and there are specifically Mr. OPA, Speaker BJ Cruz, and that's all we have for today, which is great. We just needed you, Speaker. And written testimony shall be submitted to the committee. Please provide my legislative staff with your written testimony for photocopy. Testimony may be read, and lengthy testimony should be summarized to about 5 minutes, but Speaker, we're going to allow you the amount of time that you need to speak about it. Those testifying will be allowed to present oral testimony. Once you're done, please remain in the room for questions and for additional testimony as may be desired by members of the committee. Questions and testimony shall be confined to the substance or nature of the agenda, which is Bill 152-36. Personal inference as to the character or the motive of any senator or any individual testifying is not permitted. Any violation of this general rule of conduct will result in removal from the public hearing room. Proper form and decorum shall be practiced by all present in the public hearing room for these proceedings. Individuals who fail to maintain proper form and decorum will be restricted from oral testimony and will be removed from the room. When you speak, please make sure that the microphone is on and that you speak into the microphone. Please state your name and your title for the record. We'll now begin to discuss Bill 152-36, and I ask the author of the bill to please make her opening statement. Senator Telo, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning. Good morning to my colleagues and those present today, and to our listening audience. Mr. Chair, thank you for scheduling this public hearing on Bill 152-36, which is an act to close inactive Government of Guam special fund accounts and to repeal enabling legislation of such inactive Government of Guam special fund accounts as recommended by the Office of the Public Accountability, pursuant to OPA Report 19-02. Mr. Chair, Bill 152, as mentioned, based on recommendations by the OPA pursuant to Report 1902, which highlighted 86 SRFs, including 30 accounts that should be closed as suggested in prior audit reports. Example of inactive special revenue funds, including the 1999 South Pacific Games Revolving Fund, Cominta Para Tizan Fund, Off-Island Travel Fund, and the Construction Dedito Precinct Crime Lab Fund, all having zero balances per OPA Report 19-02. As you may be aware, Mr. Chair, responding to the 2019 OPA report and after reviewing Bills 301, 305, offered during the 28th Guam legislature, I proposed a similar measure in Bill 61 that was introduced in the 35th Guam legislature, attempting to close inactive SRFs as part of our government's broader effort to clean GovGuam books. Mr. Chair, I will continue to support the creation of special funds to assist our agencies provide critical public services without relying too heavily on the general fund, recognizing the importance of examining examining on regular basis whether certain accounts should be repealed because inactivity or if they no longer serve the purpose for which they are intended. According to OP Report 19-02, between June 6, 1995 and September 30, 2017, DOA established 194 SRFs within its fiscal management system. Of the 194, 86 were inactive for approximately 1 to 12 years as of FY 2017. The number of the SRFs have been, moreover, most of these inactive funds were already recommended for repeal in prior audits, but recommendations were not acted upon. You know, Mr. Chair, as a former speaker said, that this is not a very, glamorous bill, but it does assist in helping, clean the books. And we have the opportunity to finally act on the recommendations of the OPA. So I look forward to the comments and questions regarding this measure, and we'll work closely with the committee to make any amendments, which I do have an amendment regarding a particular fund that was brought to my attention on the GURA fund, which will be a recommendation I will make, Mr. Chair, regarding Public Law 20-210, which is regarding the Guam Housing Corporation. The fund will be closed, Mr. Chair. However, the program will still be intact. So we'll make sure that we don't repeal the program, but just close the dormant account, which is, of course, at zero and has been that way for many years. So I thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to open, and I appreciate the testimony provided from the OPA, as well as Director Burns I've been in contact with, and he will provide this body a testimony. He's off island currently, but during the last conversation I had with him, minimal notes, and I believe, Mr. Chair, you might have those too as well to make a couple amendments. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Senator Telo. I'd like to also recognize the President of Senator Tony Ana, and I'll ask Speaker Cruz, Mr. Auditor, Public Auditor, if you please give your testimony, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, my name is Benjamin Cruz. I am the Public Auditor. I want to thank the committee, and I want to thank you especially for accommodating me to speak first. I assure you I'm not going to take 5 minutes or more than 5 minutes. I and several members of my staff are in training starting at 9 o'clock on a special audit kind of program that we'd like to start implementing, but I felt it important that I come and I deliver this testimony. I thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony on Bill 152, introduced by Senator Telo Taitague and co-sponsored by Senators Sabina, Perez, and Joanne Brown. The purpose of the bill is to close and repeal certain inactive and dormant special revenue funds as recommended by OPA Report 1902 issued on March 9, 2019. The Office of Public Accountability is in support of this bill. I thank the authors for this legislation for taking action on this issue of dormant and inactive special accounts. Our office first studied this issue back in 2004 in OPA Report 04-04 and in 2006, 06-03, when we reviewed numerous special revenue funds and found them more than that half of them had little or no activity. We recommended then the repeal of certain funds, and some of them on this list still, like as was mentioned, the 1999 SPG revolving fund, the Comité Partisan and Overtime Fund, to name a few. While the legislation seeks to repeal these special revenue funds, their elimination does not necessarily mean foregoing the purpose for which the funds were created. They can be, alternately, achieved through direct appropriation by the legislature to the agencies administering the funds, with the accounting still being done by DOA. The only difference is the accounting will be done in the account rather than a special revenue fund. We encourage all senators to support this bill and make our government more efficient. I'm embarrassed to admit that I did not, during my years of the legislature, pay attention to 1404-04 and 06-03. And so I thank this body for finally addressing 1902 to start closing inactive accounts. In that report, there are additional accounts, and hopefully in Mr. Burns's testimony, he might recommend that there are others that you might want to consider. But I've spoken to both of the auditors. I have on my staff still the auditor who did the 04 account and report in the 06. And he was very happy to hear that these are finally being addressed. And I'm hoping that Mr. Burns might make recommendations to the committee to add additional accounts that we've listed in all three reports. I've also attached both of the prior reports, since all of you have seen 1902. I've attached 04 and 03 to my testimony in support of this legislation. So thank you very much to the sponsors and to this body for considering it.
Thank you, sir. I'll just make a very simple comment to this bill. I'm in support of the bill to begin with. A year ago, I asked, or maybe even 2 years ago, I asked the Department of Administration to give me a list of all the accounts, all these programs that need to be closed because they're dormant. They're not doing anything. And he hadn't provided to me, and I thank Senator Telo. I'm in full support of this bill. And we'll find a way to speed it up so we can get it into session and get this over with and be done with. But I will be asking your office and Department of Administration, if there's any other account, let's close it and let's just put it to rest and let's move forward. And let's focus on the accounts that work and that bring in funds. Senator Telo, do you have any questions to the OPA? No? Okay, so we'll just move along. Senator Shelton, do you have any questions? None? Senator Chris Duenas, do you have any questions, sir? None? Senator Moylan, do you have any questions for the OPA on this bill?
Just one, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Speaker Cruz, thank you for your statement, and I appreciate all that the OPA office does. I'm glad we have the opportunity to make some of the corrections that you have pointed out to us in this legislation body. I'm just hoping in the future as well, if you can also help direct us, if we need to give you more, how can I say, teeth in your authority, because your reports that you provide to us are really important, and I'm glad the author of the bill has brought this to our attention. I'm sure we can get favorable response and correct these issues. But there's other issues that you also have brought before this body that I'd like to see move forward, to include addressing things to ADALU as well, and the latest regarding the quarantine facilities. I think it's really important that we support you, we support OPA office, because you're doing the work for the people to address the right things to do. If your office needs additional authority, just in case somebody tries to overlook what you have pushed forward, I'll be more than happy to help you with that in addressing any amendments needed for the authority of the OPA office to enforce their recommendations to ADALU or to this legislature. So I just wanted to say thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Moylan. Senator Ada, do you have nothing? Senator Telo, do you have any closing? And then we can close this one and it'll be a quick transcription and we can get it on the session floor.
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. And I know that my colleagues have looked at the fiscal note from BBMR, as well as Mr. Byrne, like I said, will be making some amendments to the bill, especially addressing the your revolving fund. And so we'll look into that. And Mr. Chair, I'd like to, when I go on the session floor with this bill, make you a co-sponsor of this legislation. and appreciate all the time you took to come down here to testify in favor of this bill, and I hope that we can do more for the office to provide you the assistance, any assistance you can. Budget's coming up. So we'll see you shortly. Thank you, Speaker, and OPA Direct. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Telo. There being no other questions from my colleagues, I'd like to thank the Public Auditor, Speaker Cruz, for being here today. The committee will continue to receive testimony. Please address your written testimony to the Committee on General Government Operations, Appropriations, and Housing, and submit it via email to Senator Joe S. Agustin@gmail.com or to my office located at Rand Care Building, 2nd floor, Suite 3, 761 South Marine Corps Drive, Tamuning, Guam. This is mostly for attendance and participating in today's hearing. And for those at home, thank you for watching. The public hearing on Bill 152-36 COR is now adjourned at 9:16. Please be safe, and we will now take a few-minute recess and then move right into Bill 133-36, which is a bill introduced by Senator Amanda Shelton, co-sponsored by Senator Vice Speaker Tina Rose Muña Barnes and myself, an act to amend subsection A and D 1 of section 6235, Article 2, Chapter 6, Title 4, Guam Code Annotated, relative to certification, pay difference for certified public accountants, certified government financial managers, certified fraud examiners, and certified internal auditors at the Guam Community College. Thank you, and we'll just take that few-minute recess. Thank you. Good morning and half a day. The Committee on General Government Operations, Appropriations, and Housing is now called to order. For the record, today is Thursday, July 29, 2021, and the time now is 9:19. Notice of this public hearing were disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets. First public notice and change 1 was issued on Thursday, July 22nd, and then a change 2 on Friday, July 23rd. And second notice was issued on Monday, July 26th. The committee will hear and accept testimony on Bill 133-36 COR, introduced by Senator Amanda Shelton, co-sponsored by Vice Speaker Tina Rose Muña Barnes and myself. An act to amend subsection A and D1 of section 6235, Article 2, Chapter 6, Title 4, Guam Code Annotated, relative to certification pay differential for certified public accountants, certified government financial managers, certified fraud examiners, and certified internal auditors at the Guam Community College. I'd like to acknowledge my colleagues that have joined me today. I have the author of the bill, Senator Amanda Shelton. We have Senator Telo Taitague, we have Senator Joanne Brown, Senator Tony Ada, Senator Chris Duenas, and Senator Jim Moylan. General rules for this public hearing is those testifying on behalf of Bill 133-36 are invited to the panel, and specifically Dr. Mary Okada from GCC. Thank you for being here. Written testimony shall be submitted to the committee. Please provide my legislative staff with your written testimony for photocopy. Testimony may be read, and lengthy testimony should be summarized to about 5 minutes. I know Dr. Okada is good at the 5-minute rule. And if she needs more time, we'll allow the time. Those testifying will be allowed to present oral testimony. Once you're done, please remain in the room for questions or for additional testimony as may be desired by members of the committee. Questions and testimony should be confined to the substance or nature of the agenda. Personal inference as to the character or motive of any senator or any individual testifying is not permitted, and any violation of the general rule of conduct will result in the removal from the public hearing room. Proper form and decorum shall be practiced by all present in the public hearing room. For this proceeding, individuals who fail to maintain proper form and decorum may be restricted from providing oral testimony and will be removed from the room. When you speak, please make sure that the microphone is on and that you speak into the microphone. Please state your name and your title for the record. We will now begin to discuss Bill 133-36 and I'd ask the author of the bill to please give her opening statement.
Sidious Masi, Mr. Chair, Hafaday, and good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for scheduling this public hearing and for the opportunity to speak on the bill. Mr. Chair, Bill 133 has but one simple goal: to resolve an error in the Hay Plan legislation that excluded the Guam Community College certified employees from receiving differential pay. Under Bill 133, GCC employees who hold certifications such as Certified Public Accountant, Certified Government Financial Manager, Certified Fraud Examiner, and Certified Internal Auditor would be entitled to increases in their base pay, 15% for CPAs and 10% for the other three certifications, just like other certified professionals employed at the Guam Department of Education, the University of Guam, and the Office of Public Accountability. Mr. Chair, we do not know why the Guam Community College was excluded from this list in the first place, but I urge the committee to instead bring its attention and focus to correcting this error going forward. In addition, the college anticipates no financial impact from this legislation as provided by BBMR in the bill's fiscal note, mainly because the college currently does not have employees who hold these certifications. The financial impact will surely be addressed in the future if and when the college employs professionals who hold these certifications, which by then the college would have had the time to fully prepare to hire these professionals and include them in their budget requests. I would like to thank our partners at the Guam Community College for bringing this matter to our attention. Dr. Okada, thank you very much. I think we can all agree here that the college has done tremendous work in building our workforce capacity and being great stewards of taxpayer dollars. Bill 133 only seeks to correct a wrong and level the playing field for these certified professionals in our government. I would also like to thank you, Mr. Chair, and Vice Speaker Tina Rose Muña Barnes for lending your support to this measure as co-sponsors. And I look forward to the discussion today on this measure. Sidious Masi.
Thank you, Senator Shelton. I'd ask now Dr. Okada if she could give her testimony.
Hafaday and good morning. My name is Mary Okada, President for the Guam Community College. Buenas and Hafaday, Senator San Agustin, Senator Shelton, Senator Duenas, Senator Ada, Senator Brown, Senator Moylan. Thank you for this opportunity to provide testimony in support of Bill 133-36, relative to certification pay differential for certified public accountants, certified government financial managers, certified fraud examiners, and certified internal auditors at the Guam Community College. It's no secret that the Finance and Administration Division of the Guam Community College maintains high standards of accountability for all funds entrusted to the institution. For the past 20 consecutive years, GCC has maintained its status as a low-risk auditee. This designation is largely attributed to the team in our Finance and Administration Division, along with the collaboration and support of all of the other divisions of the college. Our support for this legislation provides two opportunities for members of our accounting team: to elevate the educational and professional levels of our team and to provide parity to our accounting team in line with other Government of Guam agencies that already avail of this certification pay differential. The college does not currently have any employees on track to receive any of these certifications, nor does the college have any vacancies that would warrant a recruitment. However, the college does support the professional development for our staff. This legislation would provide opportunities for them to consider these certifications and designations. I thank you for the opportunity to provide my testimony this morning. I look forward to the successful passage of Bill 133-36. Sidious Masi.
Thank you, Dr. Okada. Senator Shelton, do you have any question to Dr. No question? I'll proceed down now. Senator Telo, do you have any question for Dr. Okada?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Dr. Okada, for being here today to testify. Yeah, I stand in support of this legislation, but I'm curious, Was there a study or survey been conducted to determine any kind of recruitment or compensatory disparities between the government of Guam employees and GCC?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, well, right now, the accountants and the accounting staff that we have under the Guam Community College, the only disparity that I would say is in the autonomous agency and how they classify their professional technical personnel. And so our classified staff are not included in any salary studies that have been done. They have been at the college restricted only to the administrators and faculty, which are the academic personnel of the institution. All other employees of the Guam Community College that fall under the Civil Service Commission follow the government of Guam pay plan.
Oh, I see. So there is a disparity there in something, yeah.
Only as it relates to the other agencies that have specialized pay plans. That's correct.
I see. Okay, that's something that we could probably work on, and bringing to light, the equal playing field all around. Other than that, Mr. Chair, I thank you for the opportunity, and thank you to Dr. Okada for being here to testify. It's important to have people testifying on these bills, and having you here is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Telo. Senator Chris Reigns, do you have any questions, sir? No questions. Senator Muña, do you have any questions? No questions. Senator Ada, do you have any questions? None. Senator Brown, do you have any questions for Dr. Okada? No questions? All right. Senator Shelton, would you like to close before I close, and we can wrap up this bill and get it ready for session?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I want to thank Dr. Okada for being here today to testify on this measure. I'd also would like to address you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for your time today and hearing this bill, and I look forward to the successful passage with the support of our colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Shelton. The committee will conclude this public hearing, and the committee will continue to receive testimony. Please address your written testimony to the Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, and Housing, and submit it via email to Senator Joe S. Augustin@gmail.com or to my office located at Rand Care Building, 2nd floor, Suite 3761, South Marine Corps Drive, Tamuning, Guam. Since Marcy for your attendance, Dr. Okada, and your participation in today's hearing. And for those at home, thank you for watching. This public hearing on Bill 133-36 COR is now adjourned. It is 9:29. And thank you very much, my colleagues. We will now take another recess before we begin on Bill 132-36. We'll do a recess to sanitize the area. Thank you. Good morning and half a day. The Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, and Housing is now called back to order. For the record, today is Thursday, July 29th, and the time now is 9:33. Notice for this public hearing were disseminated via email to all senators and main media broadcasting outlets. First public notice and change 1 was issued on Thursday, July 22nd. Change 2 was issued on Friday, July 23rd. And second notice was issued on Monday, July 26th. The committee will hear and accept testimony on Bill 132-36 COR, introduced by Vice Speaker Tina Rose Muña Barnes, an act to amend Section 12217, 12229, 12319, 12320, 12436, 12505, 12617, B8, 12231, 3G, and 12231-3H to repeal and reenact Section 12819, 12826, and 122330, all of Chapter 12, Title 10, Guam Code Annotated, to add Section 12436.1, 12436.2, 12505.1, 12617.1, 12617.2, 12826.1, 122313I, and 122313J to Chapter 12, Title 10, Guam Code Annotated, and to amend Section 18105A4 and to repeal and reenact Section 18108 and 18124 of Guam of Chapter 18, Title 10, Guam Code Annotated, relative to establishing separate revolving funds for the Guam Board of Medical Examiners and Nurses Examiners, the Board of Examiners for Dentistry, Optometry, and Pharmacy, and the Board of Allied Health Examiners, Barbering and Cosmetology, and Social Work. I'd like to acknowledge the senators that are present today that have joined us on this bill. We have Senator Amanda Shelton, we have Senator Chris Duenas, Senator Tony Ada, Senator Jim Williams, Senator Joanne Brown, and Senator Telo Taitague. Those testifying on behalf of Bill 132-36 are invited to the panel. There are no one here today. But if there's any need to submit written testimony, please submit it to my legislative staff or to my office at Senator Joe S. and Agustin at gmail.com. We'll move forward. Proper form and decorum should be practiced by all present in the public hearing room for proceedings. I ask that personal inference as to the character or motive of any senator or any individual testifying or speaking on the bill is not permitted. Any violation of the general rule of conduct will result in removal from the public hearing room. Individuals who fail to maintain proper form and decorum may be restricted from providing any testimony and will be removed from the room. When you speak, please make sure that the microphone is on and that you speak into the microphone. We'll now begin to discuss Bill 132-36 CR, and I have Senator Amanda Shelton that would give the opening statement for the bill from Vice Speaker Tina Rose Muña Barnes. Senator Shelton.
Sidus Masi, Mr. Chair. Vice Speaker Tina Rose Muña Barnes is currently attending to an urgent matter, so on behalf of the Vice Speaker, I will open for Bill number 132-36 COR, which is essentially to establish separate revolving funds for each of the boards within the Health Professional Licensing Office, or the HPLO. The HPLO provides licenses to 9 professional boards, namely Emergency Medical Services, Guam Board of Allied Health Examiners, Guam Board of Barbering and Cosmetology, Guam Board of Examiners for Dentistry, Guam Board of Examiners for Optometry, Guam Board of Examiners for Pharmacy, Guam Board of Medical Examiners, Guam Board of Nurse Examiners, and Guam Board of Social Work. These boards are professional working boards who generate their own revenue through their collection of fees and fines. While these boards have been charged with separate mandates to manage and grow their respective industries, they currently share a single revolving fund within the HPLO. The intent of Bill 132-36 is to give these boards more autonomy in utilizing their funds, allowing them to be more responsive to the unique challenges they face in their respective industries, and to make critical financial decisions. Moreover, many of these boards' licensing fees and fines are set in statute, and some of the fines and fees have not changed since the establishment of the board. In order for the board to increase these fees and fines, the Department of Public Health and Social Services, HPLO, or the board would have to come to the legislature and ask for a bill to be introduced to increase any fines and fees. But we must begin by giving each board a revolving fund separate from other boards within the HPLO to do their designated work. I thank you very much, Mr. Chair, for hearing this bill today, and I thank my colleagues for their openness to this bill, and I hope for their support today.
Thank you, Senator Shelton. I'll start with Senator Telo Taitague, followed by Senator Chris Reyes. Senator Telo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And Mr. Chair, if I may, I will be speaking on behalf of Speaker, right now it's Acting Lieutenant Governor Terlahi, Speaker Terlahi, as she asked me to read this into the record, if you don't mind. Okay. Half a day, Mr. Chair. Speaker Terlahi has met with the Director of Public Health and Social Services, as well as ASO Tommy Taitague and Administrator Zena Pacina a few days ago regarding HPLO, revenues, collections, and distribution of funds. It's her understanding, based on that meeting and the previous ones she had with them before, that all boards receive their allot amounts based on the revenues each board generates. And although these funds are placed into one account, the HPLO revolving fund, there are no impediments keeping these boards from receiving their funds. So, Mr. Chair, there are a couple questions here, and it's unfortunate we don't have anyone from Public Health here today to answer any questions. But one of the questions is if Ms. Pacina can explain for the public how HPLO and Department of Public Health and Social Services currently allocate its revenues and appropriations to its boards. Fortunately, she's not here, but I'm hoping that some of these questions will be addressed. Do all boards receiving these funds? Are any impediments preventing the boards from receiving their funds? With that said, could you please explain the need for creating separate revolving funds for each board? HPLO also requests for funds from the revolving fund. How does HPLO intend to pull money from separate revolving funds from HPLO office operations? Do you believe by bypassing the administrative adjudication law notice requirement would adequately serve to inform the public and provide as to the board's intent to raise fees? Which boards intend to raise fees at this point, and how much? I was hoping DOA would be present to provide, and this is in the event DOA is not present, which they're not present, okay. So I was hoping DOA would be present to provide input on the proposed legislation creating separate revolving fund. Mr. Chair, I ask that you request a formal response from DOA, and that is be provided to the committee. And for the record, I just want to note that I am not seeing a physical note on the legislative website. So I'd like to ask the chair to follow up on that and to make it available to the committee. Also, another question is, why is an audit needed to be prioritized at this time? Is there suspected improprieties going on? So, Mr. Chair, that is on behalf of the Speaker, Acting Lieutenant Governor, asked me to proffer those questions for this body, and hopefully that Public Health will have the time to answer this and provide this committee those answers. But on behalf of myself, Mr. Chair, I have a few questions too. Unfortunately, they're not here, but one of my biggest concerns was Bill 3.2 allows for the adoption of any amendments, fees, charges outside the requirements of the administrative adjudication law. Why should these governing boards be exempt from complying with the law, which promotes greater transparency and public participation, including a layer of scrutiny by decision makers in the executive and legislative branches of government? By removing that, Mr. Chair, they can do that without our input whatsoever. So that's a really big concern I have. What is the total value of fees and other payments collected by HPLO, Government of Guam, for the past 5 years? And have financial records for these payments been audited internally or by independent body? And my last question, Mr. Chair. To what extent are fees and other payments transacted by the HPLO, Government of Guam, made available online, ensuring accurate record keeping and timely collections and settlement of payments and other financial obligations? Thank you, Mr. Chair, for the opportunity to proffer these questions in public for the public to hear. It's important there's transparency and that they hear the concerns of us as senators, and maybe some of those concerns are also their concerns as well in the public. So I thank you, Mr. Chair, and hopefully we can get a response to provide to your committee and we can share amongst the other colleagues. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, and thank you, Senator Telo. I agree with you on those issues. But there was a statement, letter provided by BBMR. As such, their statement, bottom line, is as such, the bill is administrative nature and poses no physical impact upon any funds of the Government of Guam. And OEB did provide a letter, and at the very bottom, however, due to the pandemic, the fund is not tracking as appropriate. Therefore, this separating the funds by the different categories may have a physical impact to HPLO. So we'll wait for response from Public Health and the different boards. I believe the different boards need to let us know what's going on. And I agree with you. Senator Chris, do you have any questions at this time? No questions? Senator Moylan, do you have any questions? None? Senator Ada, do you have any questions? None. Senator Brown, do you have any questions?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I think it just would be helpful, certainly, if we did get feedback from the boards. I mean, I can understand perhaps them wanting to have their respective funds that they're paying into within their account so that they can execute their respective activities. But it would be good to get some feedback from them with regards to this bill. And then also, I do agree we need to look further with regards to removing the administrative adjudication law. I mean, I understand perhaps they want to facilitate it among their own organization. But at the same time, I mean, these monies are being paid into public boards that are being established by law. And I think we need to determine perhaps whether or not that's the best avenue. It might be best for the individual boards so that they don't have to go through anything beyond their own operations, but I think we need to examine that because we can end up in a situation where this becomes the standard, and I don't necessarily think that's as good with regards to public awareness and public accountability. I mean, we're talking a little over $200,000 as was listed by your office. I guess for the last 2 years, the amount of the funds were about $252,000 and $286,000 respectively, just rounding those amounts off of the collective contributions that were made to these boards. So, you know, we're talking, you know, six-figure amounts. I would have liked to have gotten more feedback and certainly would want more feedback before we move forward with this bill. But I defer to you, Mr. Chairman, if you can advise us when, you know, there's more input from the respective boards and commissions, and then also the concerns that were raised by Speaker Terlahi. I think if we could get feedback with regards to that, that would be very helpful as we move forward to deliberate Bill 132. With that, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for the opportunity to comment on this bill.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Senator Amanda, would you like to make any other statement in reference to the bill? And my colleagues, it may lead me to ask for maybe a round table with the different board members or an information hearing so we know what's going on at the boards. And because it's an appropriation issue, and we're talking about money and changing the bill, their boards, I'll communicate with my committee and we'll figure out what we need to do next. But I do want to get some information. There's no doubt about that. The committee will continue to receive testimony. Please address your written testimony to the Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, and Housing and submit it via email to Senator Joe S. Augustine at gmail.com or to my office located at Rand Care Building, 2nd floor, Suite 3, 761 Marine Corps Drive. Sincerely, Mossy, for your participation on this bill, my colleagues. And for those at home, thank you for watching. The public hearing on Bill 132-36 is now adjourned. It is now 9:48. And we'll take a quick recess before we begin on Bill 164-36. Thank you. Good morning and half a day. The Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, and Housing is now called to order. For the record, today is Thursday, July 29, 2021. The time now is 9:50. Notice for this public hearing were disseminated via email to all senators and main media broadcasting outlets. First public notice and change 1 was issued on Thursday, July 22nd. Change 2 on Friday, July 23rd, and second notice was issued on Monday, July 26th. The committee will hear and accept testimonies on Bill 164-36 who are introduced by Speaker Therese M. Terlai and co-sponsored by Senator Jim Moylan and myself. An act relative to amending the Recovery and Income Support and Empowerment Rise Act of 2020 to remove impediments to the issuance of payments to eligible Guam residents during the state of public health emergency due to the coronavirus disease, COVID-19 pandemic. Acknowledgements of my colleagues that have joined me this morning. We have Senator Amanda Shelton, we have Senator Telo Taitague, Senator Joanne Brown, Senator Tony Ada, Senator Chris Duenas, and Senator Jim Moylan. The conduct of this public hearing shall be as follows. We don't have anyone testifying on this bill, but I know that there are many that are in support of this bill. I'd ask that if anyone would like to submit written testimony in support or in non-support of this bill, please provide it to my office. Questions and testimonies shall be confined to the substance as we discuss it among our colleagues on the bill. Personal inference as to the character or motive of any senator or any individual testifying, speaking is not permitted. Any violation of the general rule of this conduct will prevent you from providing any further testimony. Proper form and decorum shall be practiced by all present in the public hearing room for these proceedings. Individuals who fail to maintain proper form and decorum may be restricted from providing any oral testimony and will be asked to leave the room. When you speak, please make sure that the microphone is on, that you speak into the microphone. We will now begin to discuss Bill 164-36 UR. I have a statement from Speaker Therese Terlai, and I would read that. This is a sponsored statement. On Thursday last week, this is from Speaker Terlai. On Thursday last week, I introduced Bill 164-36, which is an act relative to amending Recovery, Income Support, and Empowerment RISE Act of 2020 to remove impediments to the issuance of payments to eligible Guam residents during the state of public health emergency due to the coronavirus disease COVID-19 pandemic. Bill number 164 was co-sponsored by Senator Jim Moylan and Senator Joe Augustin. I'd like to thank the Committee on Rules for referring the bill immediately to the Committee on Appropriations. And I would like to also like to recognize and thank the Chairman of the Committee on Appropriations for scheduling this hearing immediately in order to prioritize swift payment of the RISE Act and all RISE program. The original RISE Act was intended to extend immediate cash assistance to those in greatest need on Guam during the declaration of emergency caused by COVID-19. It was passed by the 35th Guam Legislature and lapsed into law on December 29, 2020. Unfortunately, 7 months have passed, and RISE payments have still not made, despite the legislature's foresight to provide a mechanism for swift relief payments once funds have been identified. For months, residents have consistently reached out to all leaders to emphasize their urgent need for RISE payments. In the past 3 weeks, applicants for the RISE payments, including Manamku and those persons with disabilities, have had to endure in long lines for mayor's verification and other documents, increasing the potential for prolonged exposures at mayor's office and placing undue burdens on other essential services by the mayor's office, especially in our large villages. I requested the governor and acting governor to remedy this situation last week through executive order. We introduced this bill to try to address those impediments in the event that it was not addressed administratively. I'm glad to see the directive issued after we introduced Bill 164-36 by the acting governor to allow the Department of Revenue and Taxation to conduct an administrative review that would no longer require residents to obtain a mayor's verification form. Bill 164-36 will reinforce this directive from the administrator by removing the prescribed rules and regulations section of the RISE Act and instead requiring complete, number A, complete Form 8221, tax information authorization, to authorize the Department of Revenue and Taxation to inspect and receive Guam Form 1040 individual income tax return and return information for tax years 2020 and 2019 submitted by individuals for the purpose of administering the program. B, copy of Form SSA-1099 or Form RRB-1099 Social Security benefit statement for calendar year 2020. If an individual is an SSB recipient who is not required to file a tax return for tax year 2020 or 2019. C, Social Security card for individuals. D, application for RISE program. And E, any additional document required as deemed necessary by the Director of the Department of Revenue and Taxation. This will give the Director the flexibility to administer the program with minimal documentation and impediments. The bill also extends the expiration date for the delivery of payment from December 31st, 2021 to December 31, 2023 to ensure additional time for all applicants to receive their payments. And finally, the bill lifts the $30 million cap on the RISE Act to ensure that every eligible applicant will get paid. Without this amendment, it's unclear if $30 million will be enough funding to accommodate the governor's expansion of the eligibility requirement from RISE to the All RISE program through executive order. The cap in the original bill only in Public Law 35-136 and not for additional individuals who are now eligible under the new All RISE program. For the record, I would also like to note that there is one technical correction that will need to be made to the bill. Section 1 of the bill should be removed because there are no amendments made to that section, so I asked the committee to make that change before reporting it out. Bill 164-36 at this point is a housekeeping bill that will hopefully remove all impediments to the payment of the RISE Act and the All RISE program. Our priority has always been to get these relief payments out to the people in the most need as fast as possible. There should be no more excuses delaying these payments. I hope that this measure can make it to the session floor next week. And again, thank my co-sponsors, Senator Moylan, Senator Augustin, and all my colleagues for their support of this legislation. My colleagues, that is a statement from our speaker. And I would ask now, beginning with Senator Shelton, do you have any comments you want to make on the bill? None? None? Senator Telo, do you have any comments you want to make on the bill?
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I stand in support of Bill 164. I think it's clear that it would make the amendments needed to move forward and any kind of impediments, but we have to also be real here, that this money is at the discretion of the governor. We don't have the power to implement any kind of payment out from using ARP funding. And the current RISE Act bill that's passed into law, public law, if you read that one section that I read, we don't use FY 2021 funding because there is no excess funds. We're going to go into, from what I hear, there is no surplus. So, Mr. Chair, we need to really be realistic here and continue to call on the governor to utilize the funding, the $600 million that was sent to Guam to help the people of Guam, to help our businesses on Guam, to recover. You know, the stimulus package went out 3 different times to the community of Guam. Everybody got it. That reached, I think there was a threshold of like 75,000 on joint or 80,000 if I'm not mistaken. But this money is supposed to be used for people who had difficult times, who lost their job, even time from their current employer, their reduction in hours, where people had to make adjustments in their life when it comes to using PPEs and utilizing more safety precautions that would cost money to do just that. But let's be real again, Mr. Chair, that this money has to be authorized by the governor of Guam, not this body. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Telo. Senator Duenas, do you have any comments to make on this bill?
Mr. Chairman. Yes, I do. I think that, Mr. Chairman, we have to be abundantly clear in understanding the separation of powers and in understanding what the governor has done via executive order. The original RISE Act, Mr. Chairman, doesn't exist anymore. It's a public law that has gone unfulfilled, that basically has been usurped by the governor's authority to take it into her own hands, as the retiring speaker just mentioned clearly. I think we all are very clear and understand that it is the governor and only the governor's authority under which this program moves forward. And as has been outlined now by the executive order that she's issued, under the All Rise. Mr. Chairman, the problem we have here is that the governor has repeatedly referred to the original RISE Act. That the cap that exists within the original RISE Act constrains her by law, and that the issues therein on the application process are also in effect by law. Now, Mr. Chairman, I am very receptive of the amendments that the good speaker and yourself and Senator Muña, being gracious to be co-sponsors to this bill, have agreed to. Because they weren't in or contained in the governor's executive order to have basically snatched the authority of the original RISE Act, change it into the All Rise Act, but not basically do in the executive order what would be needed to fulfill the mission of the executive order. But I respectfully also say, Mr. Chairman, yesterday we heard Bill 7536, which was introduced way back in March by even one of the co-sponsors, Senator Muña, on this particular legislation that's been introduced. I, for one, think this bill is unnecessary. I think we can take the amendments that have been proposed here and put them into Bill 7536, unless there are members in our body who don't see the wisdom to debate, perhaps, the raising of the amounts as proposed in 7536. I don't want to speak for him, but I think that he was very eloquent, Senator Mullen, in putting out the fact that many of the amendments contained here in this bill proposal, he has already prepared to amend on the floor with Bill 7536. Now, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to close with this. I respected the fact that yourself and other colleagues had introduced legislation after the governor's speech to put into law going forward on the issues with regard to the Dave Santos amendments and tax breaks for our small businesses. We didn't complain about that on the floor. Mr. Chairman, your bill hit the floor. We supported it going forward. You know, there's no reason why not to give the same courtesy to Bill 7536. But if both bills have to hit the floor, fine. But once again, let's be realistic about what we're talking about here. It is correct. This legislature actually doesn't have to do anything, Mr. Chairman. If the governor would simply amend her executive order and move forward with the true intentions of the original RISE Act and then the additional things that have happened with the All RISE Act. We know that the acting governor right now, Lieutenant Governor, has issued the directive that there is no longer the need for the mayor's verification. So that's already a non-issue with regard to what's being proposed here. The rest of the amendments can be put in to Bill 7536. And Mr. Chairman, once and for all again, to pass a bill from this legislature so that we clarify that when the governor refers to the restrictions in the RISE Act as originally passed into law, that we have a new law that basically removes those impediments so that the governor doesn't have a reason then to continue to refer to the RISE Act and the cap and the application process. That's the only reason why we're here today, Mr. Chairman. To either use the vehicle of 7536 or this particular bill, Mr. Chairman, 16436, or a combination thereof, whichever bill gets amended, in order to make sure that there's clarity between the two branches of government. Because we are not appropriating here, Mr. Chair, that's clear. But what we are doing is clarifying this bounce back and forth between the administration and the legislature, the executive branch and the legislative branch, that there are no impediments, that we've addressed those impediments as the governor has outlined in her executive order. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on this bill, Mr. Chairman. Sijus Masi.
Thank you, Senator Duenas. Senator Moylan, do you have any comments on this bill that you co-sponsored?
No comments, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to my colleagues for their comments as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Moylan. Senator Ada, do you have any comments to this bill? None? Senator Brown, do you have any comments to make on this bill?
Gosh, where do we begin, Mr. Chairman, and where do we end with regards to this issue of the RISE Act? I mean, this issue has been floating around for such a long time, since last year in the previous legislature, and here we are, within a few days of the 8th month of this year already. I think we just would like to see the administration move forward with taking action with regards to addressing these payments. The intent was to help those that were most in need. We can sit here and debate whether or not do we include those that were still receiving an income versus those that did not receive an income. We can sit here and say, oh, do we pay $800? Do we pay $1,000? Do we pay $2,000? I think we've just reached a point of wanting to see action being taken. There's been such considerable delay. It's really surprising and unfortunate as we look to our brothers and sisters in the Northern Marianas and see that their government has already moved forward with addressing payments to members of the community at a time when the need has been the greatest. And yet here we are, as we're almost looking, hopefully, see a continued decrease of impact as a result of this virus, and hoping that we can get our economy back on track and our people back to work. We still have yet to address the issue of paying out to what we all agree and have consensus are the most needy in our community. And yet here we are continuing to look at legislation, and we can revise this many different ways and amend it and go on and on about it. But nevertheless, I think the main issue, if the governor continues to say she has the authority, these are federal funds that are provided to her on behalf of the people of Guam, then by all means move forward and address payment and help facilitate this money to the people that are most needy. I think when all the dust settles, that's really what this comes down to. And the continued delay, if we are really genuinely intending that this money goes to those that are most in need, I think they were most in need 8 or 9 months ago. And here we are today still debating different reiterations of the original legislation that was passed that the governor herself did not sign into law. With that, Mr. Chairman, I have no further comments with regards to this bill. Thank you very much for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, Senator Brown. And you know, my colleagues, I kind of agree with Senator Duenas. It's separation of powers. If we introduce a bill, we pass a law, and you can make the amendment by executive order, you can pretty much change everything. And if you have the authority, then do so. And then, in the words of Senator Brown, we need to pay it out, then pay it out. Either you're in it to win it, or you're not in it at all. And you just need to make it clear so that people go and understand they're going to get some of the rice, or they're not going to get the rice. And then we'll move forward. And with that, the committee, we will conclude this public hearing. The committee will continue to receive testimony. Please address your written testimony to the Committee on General Government Operation, Appropriation, Housing, and submit it via email to Senator Joe S. San Agustin at gmail.com or to my office located at Rand Care Building, 2nd floor, Suite 3, 761 South Marine Corps Drive, Tamuning, Guam. Sincerely, my colleagues, for your attendance and participation in today's hearing. And for those at home, thank you for watching. This public hearing on Bill 132-36 UR is now adjourned. It is 10:10 a.m. Please be safe and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.